Foodpanda plays a major role in Malaysia's gig economy. How is the company creating meaningful and sustainable opportunities for riders and delivery partners beyond just income?
And we always try to put ourselves in the shoes of the vendor to understand, what are their pain points.
Could actually just be up and running within a day.
Yeah. Every day is a gratification, right? Because when we see orders get delivered, riders earn money, and it's all in real time. We see these data.
Welcome back to another episode of Life Confessions. And again, I'm excited to meet another person who's going to be sharing with us their life and journey through business and maybe some personal stuff as well. He is the Managing Director at Foodpanda Malaysia, Ming Luk. Thanks for joining us, Ming.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for having me.
Ming, you are a person who, from the outside looking in, people would just assume it's just consumed by your work. Would that be a safe assumption to make?
Yeah, it is. But I try to balance work with, some personal activities and spending time with the family as well.
Right. Does it work?
Not really. I think work consumes most of the time right now. Yeah.
We're going to learn more about you and the journey that you've been on. Now, you are leading Foodpanda Malaysia through a fast-changing digital economy. How will you describe your leadership approach in guiding the organization through shifting consumer behaviors and even technological change?
So I think it's driven by two core aspects. One is impact-driven. Second, agility. I think impact-driven, whatever we do, I think it has to create impact for the business, for our customers, for our riders, and also for our vendors, right?
Right.
So what that means is, for our vendors, we want to make sure that they're able to generate sizable orders on our platform. For consumers, I think it's all about choice and affordability. Able to find the right vendors at the right time and ensuring that the price is also affordable. And then for riders to make sure that they have, flexible working opportunities, right?
Right.
Means creating more shifts for them, right? Increasing the zones where they can, deliver further and more.
There's so many moving parts to what you have to do. What does purpose-driven leadership mean to you, especially in a company that touches everyday life for millions of consumers, to riders, to small businesses?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to that first question. I think purpose-driven means, able to, create impact for, I would say, I wouldn't call them partners, I'll just call them stakeholders, right? For these three stakeholders, because Foodpanda is an ecosystem of the vendors, the consumers, and also our riders. And obviously the last most important pillar is also employees, right? So, whatever we do, we want to make sure that employees have the opportunities to grow their careers and creating something impactful as well.
Right. In a position that you're in, you often have to, most people would assume, often have to find that balance between managing the people around you, both in the work that they do and also emotionally, like trying to find a way to balance that. Is that a struggle as well?
No, I don't think it's a struggle. I think so. We have like employee engagement programs all the time. We also have like recently we do a twice a year employee surveys, right? To kind of understand what their challenges are. What are we doing well? What could we do better? And what we should stop doing, right? I think so. That's how we try to balance the workload and also their personal development and personal well-being as well.
Right. Speaking of the development side of Foodpanda, and when it comes to the people who work for you or under you or with you, Foodpanda plays a major role in Malaysia's gig economy. How is the company creating meaningful and sustainable opportunities for riders and delivery partners beyond just income?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think number one requirement for the riders or what they need is obviously, to have that flexible opportunity to work anytime, right? Whenever they want. That's one, the flexibility. I think secondly, it's about protection. Third is about safety. Right. Fourth would be financial security, right? So in terms of protection, what we do is like we provide 24/7 accident coverage.
Okay.
Not just for them, but also for their family members, right? Another form of
All family
protection.
members or immediate family?
Yeah,
Right.
immediate family members. Another form of protection is insurance, right, for them. Then in terms of safety, we have a couple of safety training programs where, for example, we teach them about defensive, riding skills, first aid training, CPRs. That's
Well, that's a lot.
yeah. So we also have sometimes we have this motorbike helmet exchange, right? So they can bring their old helmets in and then
Oh, right.
get a new one at very, very cheap price, right?
Okay.
So then financial security, because a lot of them don't have their work. It's really not a long term, sustainable income, right? So what they need is ways of income management and also financial planning.
Okay.
So we work with BSN to provide all these trainings to them on how they manage their wealth and income.
Is this all optional? Are there some things that they are required to participate in, or is it all just optional?
It's all optional.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many riders or partners do you find actually participate in it?
Quite a fair bit. I think we have quite a fair bit amount of them participating in these programs.
Right.
Yeah.
And based on the feedback that you've been getting, are there things that they ask for that you're still working on?
I think one is I think we should do more engagement programs, right? We do them, but I think we can increase the frequency, right? So like having more rider appreciation events, right? Across all the states, right? Because we are present in all states. Secondly, it's continue to deepen our focus on safety.
Right.
Right. I think we do have these programs, but like you said, not everybody participate. Right. So I think we want to get more of them participating in these programs.
Right.
Yeah. I think the number of programs is sufficient. It's just getting more participants.
Right. To get them involved.
Correct.
There is this ongoing public discussion about rider welfare and income stability in gig work. You've mentioned about some of the ways that you've tried to implement learning modules and also ways to better manage finances, right? How else is Foodpanda working to humanize the rider experience and strengthen support systems on the ground? I think maybe one of the things that people would like to know is working as a rider for Foodpanda, is it supposed to be seen as a part-time job, or can it be seen as something that you do full-time?
No, so we have some group of riders that actually work close to full-time, right?
Yeah.
I say actually more than full-time. Some of them work more than 50 hours.
Right.
Right. And some of them work 1 hour a week. So I think the beauty of it is they have the flexibility to work anytime and for any duration, right? So I mean, we don't penalize them, right? Actually, what we do is actually we incentivize them to work more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can, earn much more money.
Right.
And how do we support them? Couple of ways, right? So we have, a partner support team, right? Which they can contact via email, chat, and also via the app, right? So that they can, voice out any complaints, any grievances, right? And then we also have a team on the ground, rider engagement team, right? To address any complaints that they have, to also help with, onboarding riders when they join us, provide trainings.
Right.
And on top of that, all the programs that I mentioned, right? In terms of protection, safety, and financial well-being.
Right. It sounds like you really do care about the experience that the riders have. And when it comes to being able to contribute, you've also mentioned all the various different ways that you've done that. But when it comes to the issue of sometimes dealing with the public opinion, right? We've seen public criticism at times, including conversations about rider pay and rider strike incidents. How does Foodpanda address difficult or controversial issues transparently while still protecting the dignity of the riders and the trust of the public? It seems like a difficult balance to maintain.
It is, but I think when there's any incidences or grievances, the first thing that we do is to listen to them, right? So we'll go to the ground, right? Have town halls, right? Have like focus groups to kind of understand, what's the root cause of the grievances, right? And then we work, when we collect the feedback and try to come up with solutions to address them.
Right.
Obviously, we can't address everything, right? But we try to address the ones that have the most impact on them.
Right. Based on what you know, what is the demographic of the riders in terms of age? Are most of them within a particular age group?
Yeah, I would say like majority of them like 20, 35.
Right.
Right.
Between 20 and 35 years old.
Correct.
Right. Is there a way for upward mobility for riders within the company, for them to be promoted, so to speak? Yeah.
No, but actually we did hire some of the riders into our workforce,
Right.
right? To help out with rider engagement. So they are full-time employees.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, but a lot of them also do not want to be employed full-time because they prefer the flexibility.
Right. It's what they want. It's exactly what they want.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And do you find that most of the riders come from the city, or are many of them, do they come from more rural areas?
Combination of both.
Okay.
I would say 50-50. So it's like in KL, a lot of them come from the urban areas.
Right.
Yeah.
And engagement with between riders and the businesses and the public, how is that normally resolved?
So what we do is usually we'll go down to speak to the riders to understand grievances. So usually the group of riders will come. So we also have senior riders who are advocates, right? So they will help, get the feedback from the other riders.
Yeah.
So that's one way. Secondly is, like I said, we will have town halls, focus groups where we go down to really understand their grievances, right? If authorities are involved, then there'll be a, three-party collaboration, right? How can we, address the grievances of the riders? Also, helping the government to, resolve any issues in terms of policy and regulation.
There's an entire team dedicated to doing this, or how does it work?
Yes, we have an entire team that focuses on rider engagement.
Right.
Yeah.
That
And
sounds like one of the most hardest working teams in the company, possibly.
It is. It is.
Now, when it comes to the local SMEs and vendors who participate and are part of your partners, right? Like local merchants from small hawker stalls to family-run shops, which is one of the things I really appreciate about Foodpanda, actually, because I can find that little chicken rice shop that I like around the corner, right? They've had to go through a digital platform or become digitized through Foodpanda. What challenges do SMEs face when transitioning to digital? And how do you help them succeed in the long term rather than just sign up and now you're just a part of us? How do you help them?
Yeah, so a couple of phases. I think the first phase is when they come on board, we have an onboarding program where we guide them on how to set up the shop, set up the menu, right? How to take pictures that will attract customers, right? So the really basic step, how to generate their first order,
right?
And then we'll also guide them on. So we also provide tools, right? And to help them I think once you get on board, there's thousands of vendors, right? So I think you want to stand out, right? Yeah. So once you get the basics right, like your menu, like your pictures, right? It's how do you stand out in the search, right? Because like Google, right? When you search, there's tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of vendors, right? Depending on the location. So we provide the tools, like for example, they could buy ad credits, right? Okay. So they can get a jump in their search listing.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
So for example, someone searches chicken rice and that person is a chicken rice vendor, right? He can bid for those keywords and then get a boost.
Got it.
Right. So then also we help drive conversion. So once you get found, you want people to check out your item, right? So they can participate in deals and promotions, right? To kind of nudge customers to, order their food.
Right. Do you find that since you have so many vendors that are actually smaller SMEs as well, do they do as well on a digital platform such as yourself?
Yeah, they do. I mean, you can't compare like for like versus the big brands and KFC, right? So it's different. But for their size, they do sizable amount of orders.
Right. And when it comes to being approved to be on the platform, what are the requirements that a smaller SME would need to be able to be onboarded?
Actually, we're not very stringent. I think all we need is, the basic KYC requirements like IC, address, and SSM certificate.
Right.
That's it.
And that's it. And you can start.
Correct.
Are you allowed to also be like a home-based business?
Yeah, we do have home chefs as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have a physical brick and mortar, actual cafe, and you just want to do deliveries, you can do that as well.
Yeah, we have.
Oh,
we have
that's interesting.
quite a number of vendors like this.
Right.
Yeah, they deliver cookies, deliver home cooked food.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of them during COVID, but right now that number has dwindled down a bit, right? Because I think people went back to their normal day-to-day jobs.
Right. I'm always curious to know when it comes to the vendors and the partners who sell their food online, how many of them stay on? Like, what is the turnover rate?
Oh, you mean they stay on the platform?
Yeah.
Actually, if you don't have to quit, right? You're always on the platform.
Okay.
You just have to turn off your device, then
So you're not active.
you're not active, right? And you can turn on anytime. You can just operate for 1 hour, you can operate for 2 hours.
Right.
Right? Because we don't really have restrictions on it.
Mm.
But obviously we try to incentivize them to, have longer schedule hours. Like,
Okay.
I think right now the requirement is just 30 hours a week.
All right.
Yeah.
So do most people, or is there a percentage or ratio of the number of businesses that are onboarded and then choose to be inactive?
No, not many. Most of them still continue with us.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
But the
exciting too.
churn rates are quite low. Unless the business shut down.
All right. Does that happen frequently as well?
Yes, but I wouldn't say frequently, but there are, but not that frequent.
Right. Pricing is one of the things that also crops up whenever we make purchases online, which is like you'll realize not all businesses do this, but sometimes when you make a purchase online, the item might be slightly more expensive than it would be when you actually go to the physical restaurant or shop, right? Who determines whether the pricing should be higher or lower or stay the same?
So we don't have strict requirements on it, but as guiding principle, we tell them not to do markups.
Okay.
Right. But we don't enforce it, right, strictly, right? Because we tell them, right, if you do a higher markup, and there's thousands of restaurants there that don't do it, right, then your competitiveness gets impacted.
Right. Because there's someone else that they could purchase the same item from.
Correct.
Right.
Most of them mark up a bit because of container fees.
All right, the packaging.
Yeah, but not significant.
Right. Could you share specific programs, partnerships, or training initiatives that have helped vendors or riders grow, whether digital skills, business understanding, or personal development? You've already mentioned about onboarding and how you help them get started.
Yeah.
But beyond that?
So we have this online help that's always there. They can just go into the vendor portal to get access to a library of, to how-tos, right, do's and don'ts, right? We also conduct periodic training programs, right, virtual training programs for vendors, right, across different topics, right? Like, how do I optimize my menu? How do I gain more orders during a specific peak season? What type of promotion should I run? So a whole host of topics that I run, periodically.
Right.
And for riders, I think it's, the programs that I mentioned, right? The financial literacy programs, the safety programs that we run for them.
I'm curious, where's this information curated from? Who goes out and looks for what helps a vendor or a rider? Where does the information come from? Right?
So it's from the feedback that we get from vendors, right?
Right.
And we always try to put ourselves in the shoes of the vendor to understand, what are their pain points. And we have surveys all the time, right? We also get feedback from, the partner support, right? Where they come in and drop, what help they need. So from that insights, we create all these trainings.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm a person who wanted to onboard myself right now. Is there, guide me through that process. I want to start now. You said all I need is my SSM, and then I need to have NIC,
Yeah.
right? And then what's a fee that I pay, or how does it work?
So you just have to go online. There's a partner portal, right? There where you self-sign up. We call it a self-sign up portal,
Okay.
right? You just have to fill in your details, including address, because we need to know where your location is, right? And then once you fill up all this, right, there's someone to contact you, right, to verify your details, complete the process, and then give you onboarding, right, to how to list on the platform. That's it.
That's it. So it's so convenient. Like,
Yeah.
I could actually just be up and running within a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Within a day. Yes.
That's so convenient. Like, I didn't realize it was that simple, actually.
Yeah. It is.
Now, the meaning of convenience, right, is changing. And consumers today care about speed, value, healthier choices, sustainability, and experience as well. How is Foodpanda adapting its services to meet what Malaysians want next, not just what they want now?
So we use AI, we adopt AI in our app, right, to help provide smarter recommendations, right? So that's how we hope to anticipate what consumers want. We also are very close to the F&B industry to kind of spot what are the emerging trends and also what the trends are, right? So for example, if a particular dish is very popular right now, we'll run more campaigns and promotions.
Oh, right.
Or a particular dish is up and coming, we'll try to acquire more vendors, right? To make sure you leverage on the trend.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a combination of AI and also being close to the ground.
Is this information then shared with the current vendors already, so that they could also know, like, oh, maybe I need to add another item to my menu, and then I'd be able to push this trend as well?
Yeah, we do that. And sometimes they have like limited time offers, right?
Yeah.
To just a menu.
Right. So like during festive seasons, there's special deals that happens.
Correct.
And do you find that the participation is high when it comes to, I know that there are always these special offers that happen around festive seasons, right? Is that an opt-in thing for vendors, or do they automatically have to be a part of it?
No, it's opt-in. Yeah, they opt-in, right? We encourage it because, if you abide by this, typically we see, higher percentage of sales, right? So that's typically our guidance to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Foodpanda is known as a tech platform, but it also plays a role in building community, right? How do you maintain a sense of local connection and responsibility even as services scale nationwide?
Yeah, so we have local teams of like account managers, right, based in all the states, where we continue to engage with our vendors, right, existing vendors, right. So we also have sales teams that go out to meet prospective vendors to get them on board, right, to help them increase their income. And for riders, we have our rider engagement teams across the states, right, to make sure that we stay close to the riders.
Right. That is if you look at the beginnings and this point that you're at right now, this journey that you've been on, how would you grade or consider your growth?
I think it's been an amazing journey so far. I've been with the company for 15 months right now, close to 15 months. Yeah, it's amazing because I've got to meet so many, vendors, right? So many businesses, and able to help them, grow their income, right? And also educate them on, how to digitalize their business, right? So for consumers, every day we touch thousands of consumer lives, right?
Yeah.
Providing convenience, saving time so they could, spend more time with their family. They could use that time to, for their hobbies, right? And then for our riders, it's, provide them with earning opportunities.
Right. And being in the position you're in, one of the things you have to always consider is looking forward, right? Having vision for the future. Looking ahead, what is your long-term vision for Foodpanda Malaysia's role in society? Not just in business terms, but in influencing the future of work, community empowerment, and digital convenience in Malaysia, because you're such a recognizable brand already. And I'm sure you feel pressure to do more.
Yeah, I think we just want to be, in terms of business, we want to be the go-to platform for food and grocery delivery. Beyond business is about, empowering the merchants, right? So they could, come on board our platform, digitalize their business and, increase their order volumes. Convenience is for consumers, is continue driving convenience for them, right? And also affordability. And then for our riders, is continue providing flexible working opportunities.
You've seen patterns, I'm sure, in the purchasing habits of the people who utilize your services. What seems popular? What can you tell us about something that we wouldn't realize if we were not looking? Like what becomes a trend? How do you see these things that become popular? What determines it? I give an example.
Yeah.
Like, are we surprised that maybe grapes went up during January or something like that?
Yeah. So we have trends, right? So you look at it, what spikes, right?
Yeah.
These seasonality trends.
Yeah.
So it does happen, when K-drama is popular, a lot of Korean food spikes up. Like during football season, it's more pizzas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pizzas are
Even
very popular.
Malaysians?
Yes.
That surprises me a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not the nasi lemak, it's
No.
pizza.
Yeah, pizza.
Malaysians are a little disappointed in you.
Yeah, so we see all those trends, right? I think
Yeah.
fried chicken is always evergreen.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
Because it cuts across culture.
Yes, the cholesterol medication uptake would reveal that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Reflect it, yeah. Right. So, yourself, you've been in the company now for 15 months, you say,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
That would it would be safe to say that you're relatively fresh in the company.
Yeah, still. Every day is
Right.
day one for us.
What's been a surprise to you being a part of Foodpanda?
I think the surprise is I didn't know how big the food delivery market was until I joined Foodpanda, right? It's very sizable. Yeah.
What industry were you in before joining Foodpanda?
So hospitality and also in hospitality tech and also in a fintech.
Okay. So would you say it was a big swing to take on this new position?
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is a different industry, but I still learn a lot.
Do you feel like work is all consuming and something that you appreciate on a personal level?
Yes, I do appreciate it because as long as the work creates impact, right? Which I believe we do, right, as a company. So yeah, I really enjoy the work.
Right. What's the gratification that you get out of what you do?
I think so every day is a gratification, right? Because when we see orders get delivered, riders earn money, and it's all in real time. We see these data.
Yeah. And when it comes to that now seemingly age-old question, even though it's not age-old, but it feels like this is a question that seems to have to be asked of every person who is adopting a lifestyle that involves a lot of work. How do you find that work-life balance?
I think work-life balance differs across people. I think for me, I always try to, make sure that I have time in the evening to, spend time with my family, right? So I try to block some time, right? And then after that, I may continue working. But for me,
What?
yeah. But for me, I don't see it as a burden. I see it as something that I enjoy doing.
Because you've just given us an interesting insight into your daily life, which is you work, you go back home, and then you make sure you have some family time, and then you continue working.
Yeah, usually I try to block like 1 hour at the night, right, to kind of digest, reflect on what happened for the day, and also to plan for the upcoming days.
Right. So there's work, there's family. Is there much time for just you? Is that something that's important to you?
Yeah, so on weekends I try to go hiking, trail running on
Right.
Saturdays. So I block like 1.5 hours just for
Right. And touch grass, so to speak.
yeah.
Yeah, we hear that a lot too. Yeah. And you're a relatively young person, I would say, to be in the position that you're in as well. Do you find that to be a challenge sometimes?
No, I don't think I'm that young, but
Relatively.
no, I don't think it's a challenge.
Right.
As long as you are able to get the respect of your team and the vendors and the consumers, and create impact. I think age is just a number, right? As long as you create impact.
On that same note, saying that age is just a number, because due to the nature, considering the nature of the industry that you're in, there are a lot of young people in the workforce that's involved in Foodpanda. And this young workforce has some less than desirable um, assumptions that are made of them.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on the young workforce these days?
I think I think the young workforce are I think they're more educated right now. They're more um I think they care more a lot about, personal well-being, work-life balance, right? So I don't think it's wrong. We just have to respect them and create avenues for them to, flourish, right? And I mean, we can't fight the trend. I think this is where, the workforce is heading. I think we just have to adapt, right? And find ways to get the best out of them.
Right. Now we come to the rapid fire question part of this conversation. So the first thing that comes to mind is what you share with us. And it could change tomorrow, but
Yeah.
for today, this is what you're thinking. All right, here we go. Your go-to comfort food after a long day.
Nasi lemak,
But ayam goreng or
ayam
daging?
goreng.
Oh,
Yeah.
the traditional one.
Yes.
Right. With a telur goreng or telur rebus?
Both. Why not?
Both?
Yeah.
Wow, overachievement. Well done. Okay. One business or tech innovation you admire right now?
I think it would be AI. That's because I think it helps improve decision making, automate tasks, right? And I think it could also help solve complex problems like disease diagnosis and climate change.
Oh, this is a can of worms question. Even though it's supposed to be rapid fire, I feel I have to have a follow up on this one because it does all the things that you just said. Is it replacing people?
If you look at technology over the years, right, it will replace some work, but I think it will eventually create more work as well, right? Because it opens up, new possibilities, which requires, new work. Like, you look at people thought like, machinery will replace humans.
Yeah.
No, I think it just created more work,
Right.
right?
So using that as an example, we are hoping that is the future that we see. We can't be certain,
Yeah,
but that's the hope.
that's the hope.
Right. But if we start seeing more people losing jobs and gaining jobs, it will be a reflection, a true to life reflection of what's actually happening. And in the event of that happening, in your opinion, do you think that companies, especially larger companies, have a responsibility to put people first? Because I understand there's a balance between employees and the board of directors and
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
making earnings. Yeah.
I think we need to find that balance. Don't know what that balance is, but I think because we also have a duty to the stakeholders or shareholders,
Yeah.
right? But also we have a duty to the communities where we serve, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that, but I think we need to find that balance.
That's an honest answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep walking that very difficult and narrow tightrope. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Back to rapid fire questions. A leadership lesson that has stayed with you over the years.
I think it would be treat others like how you want to be treated, because I think that is a simple guide, but I think it kind of fosters empathy, right? And also helps you overcome inclination of selfishness.
Is that kind of lacking when you look around you sometimes?
I think people do it in different ways, right? It's like putting yourself in the shoes of your customers. That's one way of
Right.
looking at it, right? Um, I don't think we're lacking in it. It's just sometimes it doesn't surface at the right time.
And we need to remind ourselves that it's
Yeah.
still an important part of not just running a business, but being a person, right? One word your team would use to describe you, which is interesting because two members of your team are actually in this room, sitting in this on the
I
side right now.
think probably empathetic, and detail oriented.
Oh, all right. A Malaysian dish you think deserves international fame, and you can't say nasi lemak
Oh, I can't.
because you already said nasi lemak just now.
Um,
I've got to take that off the list.
Nasi kanda.
Ah, I'm from Penang, so that should have been the first choice anyway. All right. A quote or principle you try to live by.
Quote or principle. I think we have to do more active listening. I think active listening is important in our everyday lives, not just for work, but also for your, like I said, everyday life, right?
Right. Describe what active listening means to you, because I can just imagine someone else listening and hearing active listening and going, "Yeah, I do that. I listen." But what does active listening actually mean?
So I think it's, really listening to others, right? And then not just listening, but also really paying attention to what that person has said, and also showing respect, right? Because I think active listening is beneficial because it helps, build a stronger trust with someone. Because if you show that you really care about that person, I think that will help build that trust. It also helps with problem solving because you really listen and understand what the issues are. You come up with better solutions.
Right. Instead of listening and for the purpose of replying, so many people listen with the intention of just getting ready to jump in with their own opinion.
Yeah.
But to actually digest information before you decide to spew words back at someone.
Correct.
Right. But this is a question we ask all of our guests. So consider the fact, let's say, if you had the opportunity to make one change as Prime Minister of Malaysia for a day, what would it be and why?
I don't think I ever get to being a PM, but what I can say is Foodpanda as a whole is committed to working with the government of the day to improve and strengthen the gig economy and empower more merchants.
Right. So what you would do is then make it easier to empower the gig economy.
Yeah, correct. And our merchants as well.
Right. Let's say it happened. Let's say you're Prime Minister, you can make this happen. What would that first step be towards improving the gig economy?
I think we need to provide more support system to encourage gig workers, right? A lot of people still see this as, non-favorable work, right? So I think we need to treat it as a more, treat them more like a proper
Right.
group of workers.
Because many people see gig work as transitional work. It's something that you do temporarily before getting a, so to speak, real job, right? And of course, you don't feel that way.
No, actually, the number one reason why our riders work for us is because for additional income.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of them have their own. Most of them have other jobs, so they use this as a way to gain additional income. That's the number one. Second is flexibility. Some of them used to have proper jobs before, full-time jobs, but they transitioned to the gig work is because they wanted that flexibility.
Right. Based on the feedback that you've gotten from riders, do you find that they are sometimes disrespected by maybe customers or just the general public sometimes? Is that a situation that arises?
I think it used to be at the start, but right now I think we've seen, people are more respectful to them because you've seen like the hardship they've gone through, right? It's not easy delivering an order.
Right.
It's tough. I delivered orders before, right? And it's not easy, especially.
You did it yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
As part of the onboarding.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. So we have a function where you can tip riders. So we've seen that amount increase substantially
Right.
over the years.
Right.
So it's a sign that, people do, respect.
Right. That's so
Right.
important because it is real work. No matter any work and everyone deserves respect.
Correct.
And it's always a little strange when you find anyone finding in themselves to disrespect someone for any reason.
Yeah.
Least of all for a legitimate way of making money and earning a living.
Correct.
Right. We appreciate you for joining us here today. And before we let you go, this is one last question I think we'll insert a little earlier actually.
Okay.
Which is, what do you think differentiates Foodpanda from your competitors?
Like you rightfully pointed out earlier, I think we have a lot of smaller vendors, right? Your neighborhood stores, your local heroes. I think that's our strength. And that's because we just, we don't discriminate and we want to empower all merchants, right? Small and big. I think that's our greatest strength. I think rider network, I think we have one of the largest rider network. And I think we deliver more zones than, our competitors.
Right. More zones meaning you have a
wider coverage.
Right. So some places
We think,
that are not catered to by your competitors, you are there.
Correct.
Right. Right. Thank you so much, Ming, for joining us. We appreciate you for joining us here today, and we look forward. I look forward to ordering that next nasi kandar
I hope so.
and not nasi lemak.
No, thank you very much for having me.
Right, with us today, Tan Ming Luk, Managing Director of Foodpanda Malaysia on Live Confessions. We'll see you on the next episode. Nice.
Thank you.